Welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I'm just one of your hosts, Sean Boyle, and with me is
Ashley Ma.
And welcome to the half-hour radio, and thanks to a wonderful partnership with WLX TV, the St. Lucie Public Schools channel, we are also a monthly television show where we talk about what resources and or ways for you to get involved regarding children and families in our great community we call St. Lucie County. Now, we at the Children's Services Council, despite doing the radio program and TV show for 9 years.
I know, we just learned this. We debated about it for a long time.
Look, we're really good with math and accountability when it comes to what we do, but when it comes to the show, we had no idea that we've been doing this for 9 years.
But thanks to Jennifer Jock, who apparently posted about it on Facebook 9 years ago,
so we
now know.
We've been doing it for 9 years. We're not any better at it. No. And I say that because we are not radio show or TV show professionals, but what we do at the Children's Services Council, what Ashley and I and the whole entire team and board at the Children's Services Council does every single day is 5 things for our community. And those 5 things are: 1, make sure every baby's a healthy baby; 2, stop child abuse before it happens; 3, keep kids off the streets; 4, keep them in school; and 5, keep them off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors by offering programs and resources for all families in our community.
I didn't count with you today. I could have, but you were doing a good job.
I got the 5 very easily.
You did.
And it helps that I could use my hands.
Right, you did a good job. So Sean talked about those priority areas, but there's a couple different ways where you can learn more about the programs that work in those areas. And one of them is on our website, which is cscslc.org. We have a list of all of our funded programs there, along with contact information. And we share actually a lot on our website there. We have success stories from families. We have our program accountability report that we put out every 6 months that kind of talks about the performance of all of our programs. And very, very soon, our annual report will be available there as well. So that's kind of exciting for us because it really is a culmination of everything that our programs have worked on all year long.
And if you want more, if you're like Sean, Ashley, I love the TV show, I need more content from Children's Services Council, we also have another TV show that we do called All In that you can go check out on our website as well.
Yeah, that's a really fun one too. We share that on our website. On that show, we actually feature a Community Impact Award winner each month, and that show is done in partnership with the St. Lucie County Chamber. So that one's really fun and kind of gives you a little bit of insight on somebody who is working in one of our funded programs.
But enough promotion about us.
Right.
And talking about another TV program that's not even aired on this station. What were we thinking? But I do want to mention,
you brought a new one.
Yeah, we do this show to make sure that people know about resources that are available. I brought the brand new, up-to-date, like less than 2 weeks old.
It is.
It's hard copy family guide.
Glossy new, shiny new. This is our family guide, and if you have followed us for a while, you know that we have sort of gone through several formats of this, but this one seems to be super popular. So this one is small. It is very easy to transport. We have distributed these everywhere. So they literally are all over the community. This recent run, we've done 10,000. So we have them available if you have a business or a church or anywhere that you would like to share these. Give us a call at the office. We can get these delivered to you. I will point out, hold on, there's 2 really important things. Hey, there's 2 important things in this new version. So one is an advertisement for the show, Community Connections, super important there. But the other thing, a little foreshadowing, is about 211, which is one of our funded program partners, and one that we highlighted in here because while this is a great resource for all of the programs that we support directly in the community, 211 really encompasses every program that works in our community.
And actually, even beyond St. Lucie County.
Outside of our community as well.
So again, the purpose of the show is to connect people to resources. Obviously, we want you to tune in monthly on WLX TV, or if you're listening to the radio, you can jump on YouTube. They have a great channel, WLX TV, and you can look at all their broadcasts, but obviously look at Community Connections. You can see what these radio faces look like. And we want you to listen every week on WFLM at 10 a.m. But if you're on your way to church, and we know a lot of our listeners, because they come up and talk to us when we're at events, and they're like, I listen to your show, and I know when you get to this segment, I'm running late for church. So as you're going to church, think about perhaps picking up some of these guides, or quite honestly, we'll deliver them to your congregation or business or whatever, so that, again, listen every week, because it's an entertaining way to find out about resources, but this is a shortcut, and you can be the hero at your workplace at your place of faith or with even your neighbors.
And one of the reasons that we recently did this reprint is because there are a couple of new programs that are listed in here. So specifically, Lindsay School of the Arts, which we have talked about several times, offering free arts and cultural classes to the community. Our new doula program is referenced in here for moms in the 34950 zip code. So there is new information that comes out in the family guide. So this copy, this cover, is the one that you want.
So I want to make it very clear, though. Grab your copy of this, but you still have to tune in every week.
Yes, that's true.
So we cannot have a show go by, and we're going to talk about this every single week, every single television show, probably through April or May.
At least.
But 2020 is a census year. Everybody needs to be counted. So they are going to send you a postcard in March. That postcard is going to have your information and a link for you to go to the website and complete the census. When you get that postcard, do that. If you don't do it, they're going to send you another card. If you don't do it again, they're going to send you another card. I believe it's 4 reminders,
Yep.
and then they're going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, please complete this census. We want to make sure that everybody understands that that information is completely confidential. It will not be shared, and make sure that you include everybody in your household. That's not just the adults, but also the children. And we want to make sure that the children are counted because the census dictates a lot that happens in Washington, particularly funding formulas that come down to our community. So we want to make sure every single resident in our great community we call St. Lucie County is counted.
It's so important. I actually had the opportunity to attend a meeting at the end of last week that was referencing mental health services in our community, and it was put together by the governor's office as a sort of promise that the First Lady of Florida made to the state, that mental health was going to be a platform for her, the Hope Innovators group that she has put together. And these state agencies were traveling all around the state to sit with communities and have conversations with them about what was working, what wasn't working. And so much of that conversation had to do around funding. And obviously we know that that is a huge issue for counselors, for therapists, for services that are available in the mental health realm. But all of that is tied to census information, whether people recognize that or not. School funding is tied to that. So many things that we need to be aware of that really are directly related to how our community performs in that.
So again, you're going to get a mailer in March. I believe March 16th is the first time it goes out. And they're also setting up spots where you can bring that card. Let's say you don't have a computer, spots where you can bring that card with you. I know Graceway Village is doing one, hosting one where you can come get a free meal and you bring your card. They have computers set up. They'll help families work through it. We want to make sure that everybody gets counted. So if you're out and about and someone's like, I'm not completing the census because I don't want them to know my information or for whatever reason, that it's completely confidential. They have to hold it in confidence, I believe, for 80 plus years before they can release it. And at 80 plus years, what are you going to care if they know who you are? So again, please complete that information. And just to put more of a point on it, every count equals $1,600. So let's say we have 50,000 people that aren't counted. If you multiply that by $1,600 per individual, I can't do the math. I just know that it's a lot of money that could have come to our community.
Yes.
So please, please, please complete that information.
And we do know from conversations with them that they do believe there was an undercount in our community during the last census, particularly of children. So that is directly impacting the students in your classroom, whether your family completes it, if it's the kid next to them that wasn't counted, there's a lot of implications.
Access to health insurance, the roads, everything.
All of those things.
Not to get too far in the weeds, but most of the federal money is run through a formula that then comes to the state. So we want to make sure, again, our St. Lucie County, which has grown tremendously, which makes me segue to, so this past weekend, John and I from our office were at the Port St. Lucie Citizens Summit.
Yes. It was a popular place.
Yeah, we held down the fort with David Graham, the assistant city manager, the quality education. And we had so many people come to us. One, they had heard about the Children's Services Council, so thank you for broadcasting us. And a lot of reaffirmation that we're doing a great job, but we stressed the importance of reading, and we had a St. Lucie Reads display up. And so many people gravitated towards reading and understanding the importance.
Very good.
And there's ways for everybody to get involved. We had people that after they talked to us were like, I have books sitting in my garage, I can donate them. Or even leads to set up a little library. So I know we're not going to go in great depth on it, but if you're interested, go to stlucyreads.org. Again, stlucyreads.org. There's a way for every single resident to get involved when it comes to reading in our community.
That's very cool. I know I was getting lots of texts from you at the Citizen Summit. So in addition to you and John talking about education, you met some radio show listeners.
Yeah, because when you came to the Citizen Summit, we were the first stop and nobody really 100% knew what to do. So we had to tell everybody. I had a couple of people like, I recognize your voice. Are you on the radio show with Ashley? I'm like, they're like, where's Ashley? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm part of this show too. But I did meet, for example, Charlene. I sent you a picture.
You did?
Charlene, who actually works for the city of Port St. Lucie, says she listens to us every week. So we're very grateful for all the listeners.
Thank you to everyone who makes a point to listen.
So we have foreshadowed, you mentioned 211. We mentioned St. Lucie Reads, which quite honestly wouldn't have been advanced as far as it is without this person.
That is true.
So do you want to introduce
That is true. I would love to. So if you listened to our radio show last week, you probably heard us talking with Colleen Phillips, who works for the 211 helpline, Treasure Coast. But one of the things that we mentioned was a program that they also run called Help Me Grow. Help Me Grow is actually an initiative across the state of Florida and even the country. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But we are really lucky that here in our community, Karen Bailey spearheads our Help Me Grow program. And as Sean mentioned, she was absolutely integral in getting St. Lucie Reads and our little library program off the ground before we had a John and who was doing all of that. Karen was really the one who was out in the community helping us get some of those established. So much so that we were so impressed with her work that she actually received one of our Champions for Children awards last year. So we're really excited about that. But she's with us today. We're going to talk a little bit more about Help Me Grow and some of the things that they do, and we're excited about. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today, and thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. We got to butter you up before we get you to talk about everything.
But I do love children, and I love St. Lucie Reads also, so it was
You
fun.
have been a St. Lucie Reads partner probably from the beginning when we first started talking about it. But really, it fit very well with the Help Me Grow mission and what you were already trying to do. So we kind of touched on it last week, but for anybody that wasn't listening, give us a little overview of Help Me Grow and how you guys work with 211.
Sure. Let me say that Help Me Grow started back in Connecticut in 1998 and was kind of the brainchild of a pediatrician named Dr. Dworkin. And he had this vision about how we could better connect children and families to our resources in the community. And he came up with the idea of Help Me Grow. So Help Me Grow then modeled over to Orange County. They started the first Help Me Grow out of Connecticut, and it sprung out from there. So it came to Florida in 2012, and it came to the Treasure Coast in 2014. So we're kind of young on the coast, actually, but I've been working the program for, it'll be 6 years in December, and I love it. And what my job is to get out into the community and talk to pediatricians and children's agencies and let them know what Help Me Grow is. And Help Me Grow really is a system designed for children 0 to 8 years old to ensure that they meet those developmental milestones in their life, that they're meeting those important milestones. And we talk about milestones because we also talk so much about screening and ensuring families are screened, but they don't often know why. Why should we screen? So in 2019, I really started talking more about what milestones are and the importance of hitting those milestones in a child's development. So we have a lot of great materials we share with families, but the easiest way for a family to connect with Help Me Grow is through 211. We are a program under the umbrella of 211. So if a family has a concern about their child not meeting those milestones or noticing that their little one isn't talking, but his little friend is talking a lot and says something's not right here, they can dial 211 and ask for a Help Me Grow specialist. And that specialist then would ask them if their child's ever been screened, and if they say no, we do a screening with them over the phone.
And that's so important. I actually had a conversation with a friend a few weeks ago, and we were having this the same thing. So, you know, my son is not doing the things that his friends are doing. I'm a little bit concerned about it, but I haven't addressed it with his pediatrician. I don't want to have to make the hike to do that appointment, have, you know, whatever else that entails, maybe a copay.
The cost.
But this is so simple.
It's
totally
so simple.
free.
It is completely free.
All you have to do is pick up the phone,
Yep.
and you can get some of those questions answered right over the phone.
Absolutely. And I would always say, too, talk with your pediatrician. But if you don't feel like paying that copay or you can't quite get there to that appointment, you can simply pick up the phone and dial 211. And it is a free service. And what we do then, as I was saying, is we do the screening. If the screening does show that there are delays in the child's development, we help that family link to the resources in the county, in the community they live in, that's going to help their child. We also send them this amazing packet of growth chart and milestone wheels and parenting tip sheets that are age appropriate for their child, things they can do in the home that'll help their child, which a lot of families don't really think about because we're all so busy. We have to get to work, we have to get the kids to school, and so we don't really think about just simple things we can often do in the home that'll help their little one. So we provide all that additional support and information, which really can help, in the end, help their child.
You know, I think that's a great marketing strategy, hearing you talk about it, because, you know, inside baseball, you know, the three of us and probably a lot of the educators that are watching us know what developmental screenings are.
Exactly.
But, you know, for somebody that doesn't work in the field, you're like, what do you mean you want to screen my child? That sounds weird. But if you say, you know, milestones that your child should be accomplishing, I think that's a great shift, because I think that will resonate more with everyday parents.
I agree. And I also like to talk about it as just a checkup. Just a checkup. Let's kind of push the word screening away. It is a little frightening to some families, but these are just simple checkups that we should be doing, like when we take our child to have a hearing test, or we take our child to have dental work, you know, to check their teeth. These are things that we should just be adding to the list of what we need to do for our child. And they're simple, especially when you can do it through 211. Just simply dial 211. And ask for a Help Me Grow specialist.
So I already mentioned I was at that Citizen Summit, and there was, you know, anytime we see we've done this at events, anytime you see a mother or father with an infant or a toddler, you're like, did you get a nurse home visit? Did you get the brain visit? So I was talking to this woman, she had a 1-year-old, and she got the nurse home visit. She didn't get the brain visit, so I started talking about the ASQ. And as soon as I said it, you could tell, like, her face was like, what's an ASQ? So I said, ages and stages questionnaire. Again, like, what are you talking about? So I said, you know, there's developmental milestones. And that she recognized. She's like, you know, like standing and sitting and pulling themselves up.
That's right.
And I said, you know, you didn't get the brain visit for whatever reason. I said, but, you know, you can still participate in this screening of these milestones. All you got to do is call 211.
That's right.
So it's a really easy number to memorize, right?
It is.
I mean, first of all, it's only 3 numbers,
That's right.
and 2 of them are the same.
That's right.
So they call 211. So when they call 211, and should they just say, you know, I have a young child, I'm interested in the Help Me Grow?
That's right. They just have to ask for a Help Me Grow specialist, and then a specialist will come on the phone. We have English, Spanish, and Creole speaking specialists that are on site every day, available to talk to families. If we have someone that doesn't even speak those languages, we're able to get a translator because we are 211. So we would then, you know, talk to them about what their concerns are, what they're seeing in their child's development, and then go from there and do the ages and stages screening, milestone checkup. And after that comes back, we call her back and we let them know, your child's fine, you're developing fine, there's no worries, or it's in a little bit of a gray area. We want to monitor your child. We'll be calling you back at the next age-appropriate screening time to see how your little one's doing then, because we know things that don't show up at 12 months old oftentimes do show up at 14 or 16 or 18 months old. So we want to make sure we stay in touch with that family, and we do that all the way up until the child's 8 years old, as long as the family wants to participate. We do that callback.
Yes.
That
and
part
it is that
so
callback
important.
piece that's so critical.
Yeah, it really is, because I have 3 children at varying ages, and I can promise you that even if I said to myself, 6 months from now, I'm going to call them back because I'm still concerned about this thing.
Right.
There is no way that I'm going to remember to call you back.
That's right. But we will call you back. And that's the point. You know, families are busy. You have a lot going on, but we have our schedule, and we'll call you back.
That's awesome.
And we'll offer a screening again at the new age.
Well, and I like this approach because it's and this sounds silly, but it's a human approach, right?
Yeah.
So because you can do the ages and stages questionnaire on your own, you can
Right.
answer the questions, send it off to somebody,
Right.
and hopefully you get a response back. They probably only call if there's an emergency, but my son got flagged on the ages and stages questionnaire, and when they tell you that there's reason to be concerned, it's a lot better coming from a professional that can immediately say, don't
But wait.
worry, there's resources. Because
That's
when you
right.
have a newborn, or when your child is, for us it was 16 months or 18 months, and when they say there's reason to be concerned, I mean, it feels like your world's falling apart.
It
So
does.
to have somebody, a professional that's trained to deal with that and can immediately say,
But
there's,
wait.
there's services that
That's
can help,
right.
and it's going to be okay. I think that takes it to another level that's more relatable to parents.
It really is, Sean, and that's such a great point, because this program, we have such a high level of parent engagement. They'll call us back. They get connected with their coordinator, their Help Me Grow coordinator, and they'll call back and they'll say, I'm not sure about this, what do you think? And we can reassure them that it's okay, or we may be calling you in 2 more months to rescreen again, and then let's take a look at it then. But it is that reassurance that we give to these families, that they know there are resources in the community, and we're going to help you find them, and we're going to help you connect with them. They can also go to our website and do it if they'd like, but we find a lot of families like that human contact, that one-on-one.
Well,
great.
and your story really with your son was a success because he
Right.
was able to get the services that he needed and
Well,
catch up.
and I think because my son's older, I'm older, there wasn't Help Me Grow. I mean, I was fortunate to work in the field that I do, that I knew who to call. But I'm thinking for all those families that don't work in this field, who don't know what ASQ is and screening, to have that human person
Yeah.
that can
Yes.
get it down to a level where, just that reassurance. Because I promise you, when we got that screening, and there was probably like a 48-hour period before we actually talked to somebody, we went through all ranges of emotions. It would have been great to have a warm, reassuring handoff and the recognition that there are resources. So, I mean, I can't say enough about how important this resource is.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's why we have such a high level of parent engagement. It is that warm handoff to a resource that makes them feel so comfortable. But also, too, about the family that you met at the citizens event that you went to, they didn't have the brain program in their home for whatever reason. These are some of the families that we're connecting with. These are the kids that are slipping through the cracks. And this is where Help Me Grow can be so vital in our community, is trying to capture and be that other safety net out there for these kids that can still be screened, go through a checkup, and still have that feeling of knowing that there's community out there for them.
Well,
So
and
that's important as well.
And I think it's great too, because when before Help Me Grow came along, I always thought the ages and stages kind of cut off at 4.
Yeah.
But you're staying with them
We
through.
stay them. The ages and stages actually cuts off at 5.5, but there's other tools we use through those other years. As they get into school, the schools offer a lot of resources also too. So usually they are kind of on their way once they go to kindergarten, first grade, and so on. But we are also there for them if they choose to call us or stay in touch.
And I did want to just circle back. I know you mentioned pediatricians. You work very closely with pediatricians
I do.
throughout the community. They're making families aware of Help Me Grow and
They
the
are.
services that are available to them. So it's not necessarily do this instead of that.
Right.
You're working very closely with
That's
them.
a great point. We're in the offices. They have our brochures. They have our material. I go and talk to the pediatricians regularly. They have our little libraries in a number of the pediatric offices, and we have just launched a new program, the iPad program, I like to call it, where we put two iPads in 2 different offices. So when a pediatrician sees a parent or a child that needs to have a checkup, they can use the iPad now, and they do all the screening work right on the iPad. They answer all of the questions to the ASQ, and when they hit that final button, it's transmitted right to our Help Me Grow specialist.
That is amazing.
Isn't that amazing? It's offered in English and Spanish, and we're hoping to try to capture even more kids that may otherwise not receive services, that need services. But it kind of gives the physician a chance to just say, I want you to do this. They have their staff set it up, and it gives them more time then to work with other patients. They don't have to actually do a screening themselves.
That is great. Which offices is that being done
It is
in,
at Kids Health Place, and it's also at Kids Place Pediatrics. So there's those two. Dr. Walters at Kids Health Place is on Midway Road, just west of US 1. And Dr. Romero is at Kids Place Pediatrics, Port St. Lucie Boulevard in Cameo.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I really want to emphasize, for the, we have an audience that goes to church. They use us as their time guide on when they're going to be late. So when you're going to church today, and you go in and you meet your fellow worshipers, and you always introduce and mingle. If they have children, make sure that they are well aware about calling 211 and the Help Me Grow program. And I say that because obviously the screenings and the developmental milestones are important, but the fact that they stay with that family till the child is 8, because what we see a lot, and you know this as a parent too, transitions are tough.
Right.
And so, there may not be a developmental issue with the transition from going to childcare to kindergarten, but there could be behavioral transitions or, just adapting, and there are resources to help families with that.
Absolutely.
And so having that connection till that child is 8 is huge. I'm trying to, the next level is until they're 18.
Step 2. But I think it's important. We've talked a lot with residents in our community where, there are a lot of people who move here that don't have family support.
That's right.
So when they are having children, which is what happened to your family, when they're having children, they don't have grandparents around. They don't have aunts and uncles around. So having a specialist who is trained and knowledgeable about what's available to them, who really can just be that reassuring voice, is so important for some of those families.
It really is. And we know that early interventions can absolutely change the trajectory of a child for a better outcome down the road for them. So we want to see children early, ideally as early as possible, but we do go till 8 years old, and that's very reassuring to families. But it's just finding out early. I can't stress enough how important it is for families to, pay attention to your children, talk to your children, sing to your children, read to your children, rhyme to your children. Do all these things, and that really helps them with their language. Early language starts very, very young, much younger than a lot of people realize. Those babbles and those coos and those eye contacts, that's them starting to say, hey, I'm here and I have something to say.
I love that.
You want to coo back, talk back and talk to your child. I can't stress that enough. We're finding communication is the #1 problem we're seeing in children. And then, when children become frustrated because they're not able to communicate, then they start acting out and we have bad behavior. So I can't, again, stress enough about talking to your child and making sure you make that connection.
Okay.
So we're winding down the show, and we just want to make sure, I'm laying the gauntlet down. Please, when you go out and about your day, this week, next week, even
Every
today,
week.
make sure that when you come across families with young children, to make sure that they call 211 and ask for the Help Me Grow program.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Karen.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for listening and watching. It's a weekly radio program on WFLM at 10 a.m. and a weekly television or a monthly television program on WLX for our radio show listeners. And remember, it's our children, our community, our future. We're all in this together. We'll see you next time.